Assalamu alaikum, sisters and brothers and sisters. Sumar Rahim here. Welcome. Critical analytics. Sisters and brothers, the main topic today is September 10th, 2021. Will be the 5 fundamental pillars of Islam. So we're going to review them and hopefully you'll see the advantage, the benefit, and apply them. Okay, let's proceed. Now the first pillar is consequence. The Sunnis call it faith. But the most fundamental principle in the universe is force. Everything is composed of energy. Energy is everything. There's nothing besides energy. Energy, that's it. There's only energy. But energy can take different forms. And force is the motion of energy. Without force, nothing happens. Nothing moves without force. So the universe expands and contracts. It spins. That's something I'm going to talk about in the future, right? Yeah, it spins when it's at the smallest, greatest contraction. It's spinning the greatest. I'm sure all of you experienced as a child taking a rock, put it on the end of a rope, and spinning around your head, and you can feel the more you spin, right, the more force. See, that's called centrifugal force. So when the universe at its most contracted phase, it has the most centrifugal force. It's spinning the most. See, and then that spin is what causes it to expand. See, because it's like when you're spinning with that rock around, you can feel the force of the rock pulling, right, against you. So that's what that spin is causing the universe to expand. As it expands, the spin slows down until the spin is spent. Right? It stops spinning. That's when it's at the greatest expansion. See? But at that point, it's at its greatest tension. See? Because as it spins, right, like take a rubber band, you pull it, the more you pull, the tighter it gets. So as it gets further expansion, that's the greatest tension. So now that tension pulls it back. So it's in 2 phases: the tension that draws it back, and the centrifugal force that the spin that may cause it to expand. See? That's the universe, basically. Everything else falls within that. Now the 5 fundamental mathematical pillars of Islam is the very nature of the original people. Very nature. So you can have a thorough knowledge of self if you're not applying, if you don't understand the 5 fundamental pillars of Islam, and you won't have knowledge. I mean, you may have knowledge, but you won't be yourself unless you're applying them. That's your nature. If a bird refuses to fly, I mean, right? It can't get upset when it's pounced on by a lion and eaten. It's nature to fly. If you abandon your nature, then you cannot get mad at anyone, right? You sure can't. If you got an idea about God, you can't get mad at him because right? If a lion, right, has teeth and don't use them, you can't get mad. I mean, that was defensive. That was part of his arsenal. So if you abandon your nature, the only person you get angry at is yourself. And 5 fundamental principles pillars of Islam is your very nature. Now the nature of demons, they're never going to come to it, and even if they applied, it wouldn't work for them. But it's your nature. So we're going to talk about the first one. First is consequence. That's the fundamental principle. The fundamental principle of the universe is consequence. Right? See, that's force. Every action has opposite but equal reaction. Opposite but equal reaction. Right? See? So, consequence, right? Whatever you reap what you sow, right? What goes around comes around. They say, karma, they cause all kinds of different terms. But every action has an opposite but equal reaction. Instantaneously. See? So you say, oh, well, this person went out here and They was out here beating people and ripping people off and everything else. The consequence was immediate. The mercy in it is that the consequence may not kill you. It may be a tumor that you cultivating, and you don't see it, but it's happening. It's happening immediately. It's just not fatal. And so the mercy in there is time, because if you change your behavior before it kills you, then it reverses. You may not even realize you have a tumor that was about to kill you. Or another way is that you're doing all this, stealing people's money, ripping people off. Then you decide you're going to move to this island. You don't know this island's going to blow up with a volcano in 2 or 3 years. You see what I'm saying? So you was moving towards your destruction. It was happening immediately. You just didn't see the final effects yet. But the reaction was taking place immediately. Or that's the mercy. Now, there's no mercy is that you go out there and you shoot somebody, and then somebody shoots you. No mercy was given you, because you didn't get a chance to correct your actions. So the mercy is giving you time. It's a matter of function of time. But it's consequence. So whatever you do, brothers and sisters, you're going to pay for it. There's no excuse. There's no out of that. That's the most fundamental principle of the universe. And Islam is the universe, because Islam is mathematics. Islam is the universe. They're trying to give you Christianity, all kind of stuff. It's against the universe, because there's no sense of consequence there. All you got to do anything you want to do and just say you believe in Jesus, and it's all wiped away. And if you believe that, then you bigger fool than anyone can imagine. Because there's nothing in the universe that backs up that kind of BS. If you do it, you're going to pay for it. Mercy is wiping away. Mercy is taking and giving you the opportunity to correct it. So I say, oh, well, all the other stuff black folks do, they're going to pay for this? No, because if they was forced into this action. They was taught these actions. See? So, yeah, they reaping the benefits of doing those actions. They're still paying for doing those actions, but it's forced into it. You understand? So the point is, once you remove the force, then it's not doing it anymore. That's the mercy. That's why we got to get out of here. Once you remove the force that's causing them to deviate, that's causing them to impose self-deprivation on themselves, self-imposed deprivation, right? They're still paying the price of acting inordinately, right? But they're forced into that, taught into that. So the force that's forcing them to do that, right? They're going to suffer the consequence of their actions. So when they're destroyed for forcing someone to do something against their will, force someone into sin against their will, right? They will be destroyed for that. See, that's the consequence of their actions. But once that force removed, they know you're no longer acting that way, right? So you return to acting appropriately. Hope you understand that, brothers and sisters. Maybe I should talk about that a little more in depth at another time. See? So we're not sinners. We're forced into sin. We're forced to act inordinately. We're forced to act other than ourselves. So now we have self-imposed deprivation, because they teach us to do things that cause us to destroy our enemy, causing us to do things, right? That's causing negative energy for ourselves. See, that's because we have knowledge of self. We have knowledge of the 5 fundamental principles of Islam. Okay, I'm going to try to keep this brief. So I hope you understand. So the next one is slots. See, that has to do with torque and circulation. Anything that spins, right, produces torque. Anyone familiar with a spinning top? You spin it and it's upright, but then as the spin slows down, the top starts tumbling over. Same thing with the gyroscope. So it speaks to your circulatory system. It speaks to your heart. See, the first one speaks to your mind, consequence. The second one speaks to your heart. See, so in other words, we have circulatory system that produces torque. So the better your circulatory system is operating, the more torque you have. Torque's an uplifting force. See, upright, 90 degrees perpendicular. See? That's what spin. So if you not if the top stops spinning, then it falls over. It topples over. If it slows down, it starts. You start. What would you call it? Stumbling, right? Wobbling. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to stay upright, firm. So what you do, how you do that, right? See, because like the first one, it's mind. You have to understand consequence. You have to understand. You have to understand that because that principle underlies all other four principles. All other four pillars rely on that principle, consequence. But the second one, like I said, it's a lot. So the thing about that is that you have a book. In other words, the God. Now the God, we rightly assume that He has the firmest of hearts, because He's the God. He's foremost. He's superior, right? Okay. So when you speak from the heart. Even the Bible tells you that. It comes out. You speak from the abundance of your heart. See, because your heart and your voice are connected. And so if you're nervous, it's going to show up in your voice. If you're nervous, it's going to show up in your voice. See, if you're happy, it's going to show up in your voice. You can't hide it. You might try, but you're going to sense it. Your voice going to tense. You might try to hide that you tense, but it's going to show up because they're connected. See. They say people speak out of abundance of their heart. So I'm not going to go into all the details about heart right now, because that's a lot. That's a very lengthy subject, very complicated. Okay. But in general, the two are connected. Okay. So you can reverse the process, because if someone, like I said, if your heart is nervous, it's going to show up in your voice. But what if you're reading something from someone who have a very firm heart, right? Their words going to be very firm. So you can reverse the process. Because if you recite those words, then you're going to reverse the process. So you're going to have the heart start firming up. The more you recite, the more firm the verses are. And that's why they call the Quran the recital. Because that's the purpose of it. See? So by you reciting it, right, then you firm your heart. You got to recite it correctly. You just can't see. A lot of people don't understand. They have a lot of business. You can't do it like that. You have to recite each word, each word independently, because you find yourself you want to rush, or you see you're blending words and stuff. Well, that means that's what you're doing to your heart. So you want the heart firm and steady. Say each word clearly and recite each syllable in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful. You have to do it that way. Then what you're doing is because that's what you're doing, you're firm. Because remember, the way you say it, the way your voice says it, that's what you're doing to your heart. So if you rush it through it, then you're rushing your heart through, so you're really not getting that much of a benefit. Hope you understand that. So the more you do it, the more firm your heart becomes. That means fear and all that stuff, because that fear becomes from a nervous heart, and heart is not firm. See? So you firm that heart up. See? Then you can see clearly. Because a weak heart also distorts your vision, distorts the way you perceive things. It causes you to be emotional, all other things. So I'm going to leave that there on the heart. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I'm just going to give some basic understanding. The next one is zakat, or charity. See? Now, that deals with, remember I said, the first one is consequence force. That's the first fundamental principle of everything. The next one is spinning force, which produces torque. That's also force, spinning force that produces torque. Right? Torque is uprighting force. The third one is zakat, charity. That deals with force, but in terms of pressure. So you have a pressure differential. When you have a pressure differential, you have current. See? That produces currents. You have a pressure differential, produces currents. Right? So, in general, the way the Sunnis give it to you, the way I understand it is like, give it to the poor. Those who have more give to those who have less. So you have a balance. Because if you have because if you have more than other people, right, then you got a current. And it's a negative current because they're going to be wanting what you have. If that current gets strong enough, they're going to come and take what you have. Because want leads to more drastic methods. The want increase first starts out of want, right? See, envy. See, this thing, see, stealing, then it's taking and murder. See, so it starts out with want. Thou shalt not want. You understand? That's not envy. So it starts out like that. So the void that's causes revolutions. Because you see in America, you got all this. You got a few billionaires own more wealth than all the people in America combined. All the 350 million people in America. So you got like a handful of billionaires that have more wealth than all those other people combined. That's what it was like in France, and the French Revolution. And that's when we discovered, invented the guillotine, and next thing you know, people's heads was rolling down the street. Because when you have that kind of current, you produce, right, a differential, right, which is going to take, because another way of looking at it, greater current always destroys weaker current. But another way to look at it is weaker current always pulls from greater current. Okay? So that's what's going on with that. So another way is like when you're giving, right? So you're producing a current, right? Because you have, right? And you're giving to someone else. So they're getting. Okay, put it another way. Let's have a balance. Okay, everybody has say there's a balance, and everybody gets $1,000 a week, right? See? But you take it and you give it to this other person $200 a week. So now you have $800 a week left. They got $1,200. They got that's the balance. They got a negative balance now worth $200. They got a negative balance now worth $200. And if they don't take and resolve that by giving somebody else, then they walk around with $2,000 a week of bad luck. $200 a week worth of bad luck. To 200, no more than that, it'd be 200. So whatever $200 a week represent, car crash, a ticket, right, a broken toilet, whatever, that's the way it's going to be. Or it could be accumulation, right? So like I said, take $10,000 to get a tumor, a fatal tumor is worth $10,000. They start adding towards that. So you got $200 along that path. You understand? That's the way that works. So a woman pregnant, that's charity, because she's given of her body, right? Because family is the essence of zakat. That's the basis of it, really, when you think about it. So she's given her essence to another life, right? And a family itself, because you're raising the children and you're giving your all to them. You're giving security, you're giving love, you're giving education, right? You're giving your experience, right? And all these things you're giving, nourishment and all these things you're giving. Because remember, that child is getting the same thing you're getting. Every life has the same amount of energy. So if everybody's getting $1,000 a day, that child's getting $1,000 a day too. He's using it for growth. See, he's using that energy for growth. That child's using that energy for growth, right? But you're giving it this extra from yourself. See? So the child grows up, and they got all this extra positivity you've been giving them, right? And along the way, they should be showing, because when they're a baby, they do. They come back, they show you love, everything. So they paying it off. They repaying you. But when they get to a point in life where they start repaying you, and all of a sudden you some dumb fool, they can't listen to you, ignorant, and they start disrespecting you, then they're not paying you back anymore. So you done gave them $1 million worth of all this energy, and they refuse to give it back in any kind of form. So now they got $1 million worth of bad luck, and they having trouble all over the place, bad relationships, they can't understand what's happening to them. See? That's why I said, honor your mother and your father, that your days will be long upon this planet. You understand? They don't understand that. So they sit around, so all they do is cause a negative cloud upon their head. So a woman pregnant, that's a fundamental, profound act of charity. You can't get any more fundamental than that. Get somebody's life from your life, because they actually living off your life. They're taking life from you to bring their life into existence. Ain't no misregard in that process. And when you're growing up, they're taking life from you, because that's what it is. You give them of your life to raise them and protect them and them to maturity. So charity, that's about pressure, about differential and pressure currents. So you're still talking about forces, but in this sense, talking about differential currents. Because the current is differential in pressure, differential forces. So we want to keep everything balanced. So if somebody give you something, you should return. If you don't have to give that, you might want to give back that person. You should, right? But you give it to somebody else. So if somebody give you $1,000, right? Then you give $1,000 to somebody else. Help somebody else. Help somebody else with $1,000 worth, not $1,000, but worth. Being nice to them, being friendly, hopeful. It's all energy comes all kinds of forms. Everything is energy. So you being nice to a person, that's giving them something. Don't you appreciate when somebody be nice to you? That means you receive something. Everything is, well, sister, everything is energy. Our people are coming together. We got to work to get these people together. We got to give our patience and everything to bring our people together. Because you got those people, some of us are, you have called connective tissue, right? But some of us are the connective tissue. If we don't do our job, then our people ain't coming back together. So I hope you understand that. So I'm just giving a general. So let's move to the next one. So we talk about that's about fasting. Now some people misunderstand fasting because they think fasting is about eating less food. No, I mean it seems that way, but it's really not. See, it's about frequency. So in other words, if you eating 1,000, I made this analogy before. If you're eating 1,000 calories, 3,000 calories a day, so you're eating 1,000 in the morning, 1,000 in the afternoon, 1,000 in the evening. That's how much you feel you need. Okay, if you eat 3,000, still same much. One time a day, that's fasting. That's how fast we're talking about. Because what happens is, at that period of time, right? Okay, you slow down, right? For an hour, 2 hours, but for the rest of 22 hours, right? You're not eating, so therefore your energy levels will go up. See, because now you're not eating. So if you go 1 meal every 2 days, that means it's even better, because if you do it 1 day, right, you just start going up, but it don't peak until your digestive system pretty much, as your digestive system is digesting food, the energy like start peak, getting higher and higher until it's fully digested. So it takes a while to do that. But if you do it every other day, then you get a whole day of fully digesting with no digestion problem going on at all. So you got a whole day of full energy with no eating. If you go every 3 days, you got 2 days like that. So you got 1 day of digestion and 2 days of so you got full maximum energy. That's what we're talking about. But you still ate the same amount of calories, because if you go three meals a day, I mean that's 1,000 calories. That's 3,000. Or you eat 3,000 in 1 meal, or 2 days you eat 6,000 in 1 meal every 2 days, or you eat 5,000 in 1 meal every 3 days. It's the same amount of calories. See, if that much you need, yes, it's frequency. It's just don't keep doing it. Because you keep doing it, that means you're always going to keep in digestive mode, right? Mass time acceleration, so therefore you're always going to be slowed down. So you want to increase your energy levels. You still have to eat, so it's going to be diminished, right, for a period of time. But it's not like somebody doing 1 meal 3 days, 1 meal every day, because that means 3 meals a day, because it's always diminished. Hope you understand that. So we're going to leave that one there. Okay. Now, finally, no, not finally. Wait a minute. That's wait a minute. We said charity. We said consequence. We said torque, right, with slots. We said zakat, charity, right? And we said okay. Last one, hajj. Right. That's harmonic motion, and that's what we're going to achieve. See, only the original people can achieve harmonic motion, because the pressures that it takes to achieve harmonic motion, KV cannot side those pressures. The pressures are great. See, They cannot survive to that pressure that take. Because when you put some enough pressure, eventually it achieves harmonic motion. If it can survive that pressure. Once it achieves harmonic motion, there's no conflicts anymore. It's like there's not pressure anymore. Because no pressure on the individual components anymore. Because now everybody's like, that's what the Hodge symbolizes. Harmonic, so everybody's moving the same right frequency, same vibes, right round circle, nobody colliding. There's all kinds of people, right, ethnicities, right, economic levels and everything else. But everybody's moving and syncing. No problem. That's what it symbolizes. And that's why it says, after this war, there will be no war anymore. Because this war is going to be so much pressure, it's going to destroy anything that can't handle harmonic motion. And those that can achieve harmonic motion, those ones going to go into hereafter forever. There will be no war anymore. There'll be peace. We'll move faster and faster and faster without colliding with each other. Because we'll all be in harmony. Because we'll all be on a mathematical level. When everybody's thinking mathematically, there's no collisions anymore. See, you might disagree on how to come to 12, but everybody's going to agree that 3 times 4 is 12, 2 times 6 is 12, 6 plus 6 is 12, right? 8 plus 4 is 12, 20 minus 8 is 12. Nobody's going to disagree on that one. You see? But when you want a religious standard, where there's no mathematics there, right? Then anything goes. Yeah, well, I believe in Buddha, I believe in Jesus, right? And I don't have to, no consequence. I just say, if I do something wrong, I just call on Jesus. I mean, they ain't say anything. So, because they tell you, oh, well, God loves you, and then God saved me. I had this terrible accident, and then God saved me, man. I was this terrible accident, man, and I didn't die, man. I just got to the hospital. Well, if God was with me, if He was with you, why didn't you have an accident? Give Him with. I mean, this is all stupid, but they get away with it because there's no logic to prove. You have to prove any of it. It's all total belief matrix. All religions are totally based on lack of proof. You can't prove any of them. Yet the world we live in is all mathematics. It can be proven. There's nothing, no vehicle, no engine, anything in this world that operates on any kind of religion. None of them. And not any religion produce anything. None of these religions produce nothing but BS and belief. There's nothing that you have in here that religion is proof. that religion has produced. So we're in the process of Hajj now. See? Because we out here talking about people, right? And giving the 5 fundamental principles of Islam. Once they understand and apply it, then they add to harmonic motion. Because we're not in conflict with them anymore. See, all these systems you have here, especially democracy, that's all chaotic systems. They're not harmonic systems. And they will all be crushed. This pressure's crushing them all right now. That's why there's so much stress on all of them. They always talk about New World Order. They know they got to change this order. That's why I say New World Order. They can't know what the New World Order is going to be. What they said is, I don't know. I know this can't work, but I don't know what we can do that will work. That's what you we know this ain't going to work. We got to change it. But we don't know what to do that will work. That's what they're telling you. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. So, those of you who are talking to people, explain these things to them, you're part of the harmonic motion process. Get our people in harmony. See, Islam is about harmony. Harmony is, they call it peace because they don't understand the harmonic part of it. Islam is not, it's about peace. It's about harmony. You have peace in the graveyard. See, harmony, the Hajj tell you it's about harmony because that means everybody's in sync, harmony with each other and then with the universe. See, we're not just harming each other, we're harming the universe because the universe is us. We are the universe, brothers and sisters. I hope you understand that. One day you will. I just want to point that out, brothers and sisters. So I'm going to leave it there because for you to think about it. If any questions, please ask. Right? We had a brother and sister. They did a very beautiful job of explaining it. Right? So I think I'm just, following their footsteps. Right? Because we all explain things differently. I tell people, I encourage them to explain it the way you explain it. Because believe it or not, more people probably understand the explanation than mine. because it's like a tree is like Islam is like a tree with branches, right? Okay, so here's a tree that's got 1,000 branches, and those branches have branches, and those branches have branches off of them, right? See, but the tree itself never get to touch those branches way out there because they came off another branch. See, and another branch, you got a branch over here on the left hand, you got a branch in the right hand, right? See, now the one on the right hand, he can't relate to the one on the left. See, because he came off another branch, so he understood what that branch was talking about. See, because a lot of you ain't gonna have no idea what I'm talking about, but you understand what that brother and sister was talking about. That's the way life is. See, my fingers, they come off my hand, they don't come off my neck. See, so it's my arm, right, that relates to my hand, that relates to my fingers. My hand doesn't relate to my toes. See, so if you're a finger, you have to relate to the hand. See, I hope that analogy works for you, right? See, it's just like with Elijah Muhammad, he was doing great. But then Malcolm X came along, he could speak to a whole different generation. He said he taught the same thing Elijah Muhammad was teaching, but he could say it in a way, whole another generation. So he brought the younger generation, he brought them in. Just like those so-called 5%, I think was, I keep getting Mr. Clarence 13, that's what his name was. He was able to speak to those young brothers hanging out on the street because he took Islam to them, and they couldn't hear Elijah Muhammad, they heard him. Same thing. So a lot of people, they ain't gonna never hear me, but they hear those brothers and sisters. So we encourage our brothers and sisters to be themselves. See, because we got all kinds of cells. We got hand cells, foot cells, toe cells, everything, right? And so if you come off a hand, you gonna understand it. If you're a finger, you gonna understand what the hand's talking about. You ain't gonna understand what the foot's talking about. You understand, brothers and sisters? So we're not robots here. We're not telling anybody to think a certain way. We want you to be yourself. We encourage, and so if you want to make us angry, upset here, be other than yourself. See, 'cause we don't want you around. If you can't be yourself, we don't want you trying to be like me, be like someone else. See, because if I watch out for anybody trying to be like me, I know right away we got a problem. Because I'm me, and you can't be me. I can't be you. I want you to be who you are. That's why I love you for who you are. Because you bring that beauty, right, see, into the situation. I don't want my finger acting like a toe. How would that work out? See? Finger does a job, his toe does a job, and I'm happy they're doing their job. I don't want to start doing something else. Then I got a problem. Well, that's a cancer, right, man? Your toe's acting like a finger. What I'm going to walk on? Hope you understand, brothers. Okay. I'm going to close out here. My brothers and sisters, these are wicked times, and we see all the stuff that's going on. But I'm going to talk about it later on today, maybe. But just, brothers and sisters, the 5 fundamental principles of Islam, pillars of Islam, that's your nature. When you adapt it, you have nothing to fear. Actually, nothing. Nothing can touch you. It says no weapon created will prevail against you. Not a hair on your head will be harmed. Because that's your defense. But if you don't know it, what can I tell you? Okay, brothers, assalamu alaikum.